Okay, the topic I've chosen is later start times at the school, and we're going to start with the high school. An example would be the Columbus High School. Currently, what time does it start, John?
8:10.
Okay, and you are a member of the Columbus High School. You are Selena,
Selena,
a
yes.
former member,
Yes.
and you are the parent of John,
Yes.
Janie,
Jamie.
and you are the parent of John and also the superintendent of the school district, correct?
Correct.
First of all, we're going to ask John how he thinks a delayed start time would help him get a little bit more sleep.
I probably wouldn't get a lot more sleep. I would just have to adjust my schedule accordingly, but
So you think you'd probably stay up a little
yeah,
bit later?
just a little bit. It wouldn't really make that big of a difference. So
Okay, won't make too much of a difference in your sleep time. And Dad, what do you think would some of the arguments be against it?
Well, there'd be two big arguments. One would be when parents drop off their students at school, they would have to adjust their work schedules to drop them off because most work at around 8 o'clock, and if school started an hour later, that would be inconvenient for a lot of parents. I suppose the second major reason would be activities after school would all start an hour later too, and so that'd force a lot of practices and stuff into the supper hours and beyond, and it might be very inconvenient for families on the other side too.
Okay. And partly for the Columbus school problem would be the fact that they don't have a bus system for the students, would you say, since most of the parents drop the kids off themselves, they don't have buses to rely on. That would add sort of an additional difficulty compared to the average school district.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So with that, let's transition to sort of an average school district in general. Would you think that these detractors would apply to an average school district? Would you think it would be a better thing for an average school district compared to the Columbus school district?
Yeah, it'd be less of an inconvenience for parents in another school district where we have busing.
And you're aware of some of the benefits that have been proven by scientific studies throughout the years, such as the Edina case. I believe you're familiar with that, and where the student average ACT scores started at 683 over 605, and then a year later, when they were starting an hour and 15 minutes later, they went up to 739 to 761. So that would sort of be one of the positive facets of having the school start at a later time is apparently these researchers think that it's better able to process information with a little bit more sleep. And would you just sort of speak on how academically this might be a good thing for school districts?
Well, I guess I would probably need more information to say anything conclusively. It seems like for older kids, they process information better if they've slept in a little bit in the morning because they tend to stay up later at night. So if that would get them an extra hour of sleep versus what they have now, I could see where that would be very beneficial.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to touch on for the Edina case, you're speaking of school activities and such and parents being against it, and that was also the case in Edina where they sort of forced it for the research study. And then I've got a little fact here for the end results of the research study. By the end of the first year of implementation, 92% of respondents, which were parents in a survey for Edina high school parents, indicated that they preferred the later start times despite the activities being a little bit pushed back and stuff like that. So my point is that possibly once the parents see their kids not being having so much trouble with their schoolwork, and there's anecdotal reports of kids just being a lot happier in general, that maybe they would change their mind about the activities being pushed back a little bit. But Selena, what would you think about getting an extra hour of sleep in your high school experience, do you think that would have helped you?
Yes, I think so, a little bit, because I am more focused if I sleep a little bit more.
Okay.
So.
For the sport issues, do you think you're kind of forcing all the children to participate in these sports by not allowing a school's start time being later? Say 25% of the students play on the football team. These other 75% have to go to school at, what is the school start time here?
8:10.
At 8:10, instead of say 9 o'clock, because the football team doesn't want to practice before school instead of after school. It might be a bit of a leap, but does that sort of seem like you're forcing the other 75% to contribute, at least in a small way, to this smaller percentage of the student body?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any sort of detractors to later start times that we would like to address? We've got the kids not being able to be dropped off by the parents because of the work schedules, which is a huge one in this town. And then the after-school activities having to be pushed back perhaps into the dinner time, which would also not be good for parents. And a couple of those, or one of those just addresses the Columbus School District, but how about in general? Like, can you guys think of any sort of bad effects that pushing the school back, pushing the school times later?
Kids I know would probably just use the extra hour just to go later into the night, and they would get the same amount of sleep. So
You don't think it would even increase their sleep time?
yeah, for most of the kids I know.
Most of the kids.
And I think there are some people too that are kind of morning people that actually do better earlier in the day than later in the day. I know, I've seen in school where a lot of times late in the day the students don't seem to be as sharp or learning as much as they are early in the morning. So if you took an early morning hour out and put it later in the day, it could hurt students.